Friends, today's NRI Samai program from Los Angeles brought to you commercial free by listeners like you. Your generous donations make possible for us to stay commercial free, and today's show is pre-recorded. If you have a question for the guest, please send an email to nrisamai@gmail.com. We will follow up with the guest and find the answer for you. Thank you for your support.
Good morning, good evening to all our listeners on NRSMI. India and Pakistan, as the world around us know, have had a long history. History which is often filled with, cross-border tensions or bloodshed in the past, wars happening, Kashmir, and every so often we also do hear about the two countries trying to engage in some peaceful talks through some cultural means or through cricket, which is the most popular game played in the two countries. But very often these efforts of having these peaceful dialogues and conversations, these narratives often get lost. And we don't hear about these efforts much. And one such effort is Agaz-e-Dosti, which is working very relentlessly, which has a young team of volunteers on either side in Pakistan and in India, who through various activities, they try to keep this dialogue going and do whatever is possible to have that conversation, a healthy conversation, and try to bridge the gap. And it's a great delight, a great pleasure to welcome Alia Harir from the Pakistan side of Agaz-e-Dosti, and Devika Mittal, who is the Indian counterpart of Agaz-e-Dosti. So Alia and Devika, very warm welcome to NRSMI.
Thank you so much.
You.
So first, let me start you saying, who are you supporting in today's game? As you know, we have the India-Pakistan game.
Mm-hmm. I guess both the teams have the potential to win the match, but of course I'm supporting Pakistan.
Good.
I'm supporting India, and I know the values that people attach to this game, but I hope the best team wins, and of course I support India, but I also love Pakistan.
Right. I know, it's an interesting thing, and it's a great coincidence that we are recording this interview one day before the India-Pakistan game. You would have these kind of situations very often, I would imagine, when either India, beat Pakistan or Pakistan beat India. Then I'll start with Alia. Because you're also the coordinator for Agaz-e-Dosti. When you are having these practical situation scenarios where you see all the headlines on the Indian side, it's saying India trounced Pakistan or Pakistan defeated India. They really exaggerate these things with the way they project these matches. How do you sort of how are those conversations? If you can talk about it.
Actually, cricket match between Pakistan and India is more like of a war, because we are war-taught kind of people. We see everything with India like a war. So whenever it is a win for Pakistan, people celebrate like anything. Like they do everything to make themselves happy. Of course, they are very excited to win the match. But whenever it's lose for Pakistan, they are not disappointed. They try to tell the cricketers that, of course, we are with you whenever you lose the match or win the match, and these kinds of things.
I see. Devika? What's your take on this?
No, I completely agree with Alia. I think people attach a lot of value to cricket anyways, but when it comes to India-Pakistan, it is just I think height of all those emotions, also a lot of jingoism that happens on both sides.
Right.
So we know all about these advertisements that come up, but I think we should see it in a more competitive spirit. But we see a lot of patriotism and jingoism is attached. We know about incidents when some very kind of weird things happened. when people started supporting Pakistani teams, Of course, there was a little, some other politics also attached to it, but these things happen. But we know how cricketers themselves enjoy being in Pakistan, the friendship that they, kind of experience when they are in Pakistan. So I think while the competition is there, and yeah, it should be there, it should be more healthy. And I think it should be, both people, not really, I should say teams, but people should realize that after all, it is just a game. You can't really, kind of, yeah.
Right. I mean, this obviously is I would imagine is a slightly easier situation to deal with, to comprehend. But if you let's say there was some cross-border fighting that happened and soldiers on either side, get hurt or worse, they get killed. Now, under those circumstances, when you, Devika, as a volunteer with Agha-e-Dosti, you're also at the same time, trying to do these events or trying to engage with the people. How do you get any backlash from, when these kind of incidents happen?
Yes, of course that happens. The moment there is any kind of clash on the border, we have people start saying that, okay, what about now? Like, are you still talking about peace with Pakistan? And then we replied that, of course, this is a time when we should talk about peace with Pakistan. We need to realize that cross-border firings, the killing of soldiers on either side of the border, it is actually a result of that conflict. The soldiers are the victims of the conflict. And it is at this time when we must realize that we cannot do away without peace. So people questioning it is actually very, very, I don't know, I just don't accept that thing. And plus, I think we need to be a little more sane. We need to find solutions rather than saying that, okay, continue the war. Because we need to realize that continuing the war will never, ever, bring any sanity. So, instead of really questioning the people who are talking about peace, people should actually go ahead and ask for solutions. And one solution is definitely that you have somebody to monitor these ceasefire violations, that who is doing that. It is very simple to say that, okay, we didn't do that. It is always them who do it. And they also say the same thing. But we see nothing is, coming out because of these allegations. And I think it needs to be much more concrete and all that.
And Alia, on the Pakistan side, when the same situation happens, how does those conversations, how do you engage with the citizens there when these kind of incidents happen? So, what kind of initiatives, efforts do you undertake, on any given day? Can you help us understand what those efforts that you are trying to work on the Pakistan side, or even within, with the Indian counterparts?
Okay, Agha-e-Dosti basically means start a friendship, and our main aim is basically to create a culture of peace, a culture of mutual understanding. So we see a lot of stereotypes emerge. There are stereotypes on both sides, and one of the biggest stereotypes is that Pakistanis do not like us, they hate us. And, this is also what I used to think. But then when I actually met somebody from Pakistan, that's the time when I realized that they also feel the same about us. So they also think that Indians don't like us, they really hate us. And, then there are all kinds of stereotypes. So basically our initiatives aim mostly around that. So we have interactive sessions in schools and colleges, which are called Aman Chapal, wherein on the Indian side, we have somebody from Pakistan coming and interacting with students. So interaction would consist entirely of questions. So whatever questions people have, the students have about Pakistan, that may be very extreme questions also, and generally they are extreme questions. So through that dialogue, those questions are resolved. And apart from that, we have this Indo-Pak calendar, which includes paintings of students from both countries. So they have paintings of peace in that calendar, and plus messages of people who've been working on this issue for a long time now. And apart from this, we have discussions. We regularly organize discussions, talks and all in schools and colleges. And we also have a lot of virtual campaigns. And apart from this, we're also trying to work on the more direct victims of the conflict, which includes the fishermen and prisoners. Yeah. And in this regard, we had published the first ever detailed list of prisoners on the Indian side, and we are yet to publish the list of the prisoners on the Pakistan side. And there were several kind of revelations that came out of that list. And regarding that, we also met people from the official side to really discuss the issues, the problems that the prisoners, the fishermen face regarding this thing. Mm-hmm. And we are trying to resolve that also. Like resolve as in by advocating some, like methods through which we can have a more sane kind of an environment, especially for the prisoners.
Mm-hmm. And how do you, just so the listeners also can get a sense, how do you, the list that you mentioned, it's very interesting that you managed to get this list from either side. How do you go about getting this kind of information? Is that like, I'm not sure if that is so easily accessible or available?
We've written letters, and through that letters we were able to get the list.
So
because
letters
if
to
you write
the
to the ministry,
letters
to the ministry.
I see.
Yeah, I'm saying because the ministry on both sides, they exchange the list like I think every year, twice in every year, and you can access that. You can write letters and all.
Okay, so these are the official lists that both these sides maintain.
Yes.
Okay. You also mentioned that you have these sessions or this series of engagements within the university, schools, and colleges, and you have someone from across the border come in and talk to the students. Can you just give us a sense of what kind of questions do these students ask? What is that conversation? Okay. What are some of the typical conversations that happen?
Okay. I think one major thing that happens in the session, one of the major stereotypes that gets, I think, worsted in the sessions is about the language connect. So basically, a lot of people, like we generally have the speaker to introduce themselves in Hindi, oblique Urdu. Generally, the session is supposed to be in Hindi, oblique Urdu, or because this is what we think it's a language connect. So a lot of students are very fascinated with that. And apart from this, the questions that are typically there, it will be about terrorism. So there's also, a very typical question is that why is Pakistan not cooperating with India's efforts for peace? Then the question would be, of course, on Kashmir. So about to understand the Kashmir conflict, what is Pakistan's stake in it? Then about the religious minorities in Pakistan. So generally that would be, and I think from the last sessions, another, I think, important thing that has been happening is with the youth. So youths on both sides really want to know each other. And, because I think that, I can't say we have realized this thing, but I think it is time that we really need to move on. And people do recognize that thing. So the last session that happened, it was when I think Alia had talked to the students. The students mainly just asked about them, about how they live, what is their lifestyle. So they would ask questions like, okay, what is the book that you like? So it was more on that level. It was not really, like those hard-hitting questions and all, but it was more on a very general kind of a thing that they wanted to know. And of course, not just general, it was a very important thing that was happening even at that time.
Mm-hmm. And the colleges and universities that you target, is it within Delhi or is it outside of Delhi? Or what kind of reach do you have, at least on the Indian side?
Till now, we have only been in Delhi. The reason is that Pakistanis generally only come to Delhi, and we have only been able to manage that. And so no, we have not really been able to travel to other places and all because of this precise reason. But we have also conducted sessions via video conferencing. So we had Alia and some other people from the Pakistan team to talk. So through this way, we hope to reach other cities and other, colleges and schools in other cities. So that is one way.
Mm-hmm. And have you traveled to Pakistan as part of Azad Dosti's initiatives?
No, I haven't been able to travel yet.
I see. Did anyone from the Indian side go to Pakistan?
Yes, one person has been to Pakistan. I think last year. Yeah.
Okay.
We do have plans of, like going there with a proper delegation and all, but that hasn't been materialized yet.
Mm-hmm. Now, in terms of the scale of the organization, what kind of reach do you have? What impact do you have? Could you shed some light on that?
As about the reach thing, like till now we have conducted like 14 sessions, and that happened like over an year. So we have conducted 14 Amantran Pal sessions in both countries. So apart from that, we have like so basically in terms of the reach thing, we have like been able to, if I can give you the figure, we connected with at least 20 schools in Delhi, and in Pakistan, in different cities in Pakistan, we have I think around 10-15 schools in Pakistan, so from different cities. So it would be Lahore, Islamabad, Karachi, this is Sadiqabad, and Rawalpindi. And in India, it has been Delhi, Panipat. So we have got paintings from Hyderabad, from Telangana, that state, and from Maharashtra, from Madhya Pradesh. So we have been trying to expand, geographically, because obviously initiative should not just be for for metro cities on both sides. It needs to really, really go, as far as it can. As about the words, so we've been trying to actually target a lot of groups, like not just the school students, but also the youth, maybe who must be in college or they are like working. So we do that through the discussions in colleges and also through our virtual campaigns. And apart from that, as I mentioned earlier, that we've also been working for the prisoners and for the fishermen issue. We've just started working though. So for that also, we've been trying to be in touch with the officials on both sides. So maybe to kind of understand this issue better. So that kind of a thing also we are trying to do. Yeah.
So how has your interaction with the government officials been, the authorities or the ministry, when you go to them and say, you're this bunch of volunteers and trying to, steer these initiatives and efforts to bring the two sides together? How has their response been to your initiatives?
Well, I mean, they have been positive about it. But then, of course, if you talk about, what they say, it is, a lot is obviously very diplomatic.
Right.
So, but then I think one thing that is very important that we get to know is that we at least get to know about the other side, like what their narrative is. Like generally, I'm not just talking about the Indian side, like we also meet people at the Pakistan High Commission who are really good, who are very warm and all, but then through them we are also able to get to know the other side of the story, which you generally don't. And then when we know, so, that thing helps. As about the Indian side, they are warm, they're kind of friendly and, as if we don't face any kind of hostility or something about it, that they don't really question that why are you working on this thing. They are positive about it, they do encourage like these things. And of course, they also tell like our part of the story, which is, our part as in like what they have to say. I won't really call it our side, because there are obviously multiple narratives that exist.
Friends, NRI Samay is a non-profit independent alternate media from Los Angeles, USA, which brings positive stories from grassroots activists from all corners of India and across the world. If you have any interesting episode you would like NRI Samay to cover, we will be happy to do so. NRI Samay would also like to encourage amateur journalists who have a flair for highlighting current events. You can be part of our citizen journalist team. You could cover an important event, interview victims of an atrocity, or document an inspirational story. The idea is to have a mix of experience throughout all parts of the world, preferably supported by an audio or a video clip of your story to be aired, which will be the curtain raiser. You can also submit your opinion articles on important topics to NRI Samay. We will be happy to put it on nrisamay.com in the opinion section. All your work will be credited only to you. And if you're interested, please send an email to nrisamay@gmail.com.
So Alia, Devika just helped us understand, what are some of the initiatives that Aghaaz Dosti has taken and what the response is. I'd like to have a similar kind of, sort of feedback from you. When you have the Indian counterparts coming to Pakistan and talking to the kids there and in those sessions that you have, what are some of the typical interactions sound like? What are the questions that the kids are mostly interested in? Could you please share some light on that?
Actually, there was this lady from Chandigarh who came to Pakistan and interacted with college students in here. So the type of questions the students posed showed how the state narrative and the stereotypes are built on our mind. One student asked, why does the Indian government orders the border firing? It has nothing to do with the Indian government. The armies are doing the cross-border firing and infiltrations. So, the students are actually not aware of the facts, and whatever has been taught to them, whatever has been portrayed through the media, and then they actually need to go and meet some Indian and know the facts. I was saying that this cross-border fighting thing is potentially more of a severe threat to Pakistan's security than India. I'm not saying it's not for India; it's for India as well. But since Pakistan is in a state of internal conflict, it's posing a more severe threat to Pakistan.
Mm-hmm. And when you go to the ministry or try to engage with the government officials, especially when there are these kind of terror threats and other incidents that happen, what kind of help or how is their reaction to your initiatives? Like you go there and say, okay, we want to travel to India as part of Agaz Dosti and do X, Y, and Z, and the situation is not that conducive. Have you had those kind of situations and any pushback that you have seen?
Actually, no. Whenever I applied for a visa, I got that, except for once when I got it quite late and I had to miss the conference. So, but basically the government and the ministries are very cooperative in getting you any help, and if any sort of trouble arises because of your activities on ground or virtual ones. But the thing is, our governments and our people need to accept the fact in India and Pakistan are separate and sovereign countries, and friendship is the only way out. So there is no sanity in fighting.
Mm-hmm. Now, how long has it's been since Agaz Dosti was formed, and in terms of the scale of the operations within Pakistan, how has been the growth?
I joined Agaz Dosti in 2013, and it was started by Devika and her team in 2012. And since then, we have been a full-time partner to it. And we implemented similar activities that we have, like Aman Chopals and the Indo-Pak Peace Calendar, and we are trying to launch it and classroom-to-classroom connection as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So now, going back to, I know Devika was touching upon some of the stereotypes that have been built around thanks to either the media or even otherwise. Devika, can you sort of, from the Indian side, if you were to clear some of those stereotypes about Pakistan, what would they be? Could you help us, understand what?
Okay. I think the stereotypes, it would be about the language. So as about the language, main thing would be about the language. So I would say that the language is very similar. Like our spoken Hindi is what is spoken Urdu. So there's hardly any difference except for some few words. And I'll just share a very funny incident that happened in last Aman Chopal session. So we were interacting. Alia was interacting with students from Bangalore. So they were having this exchange of language, kind of, because they were teaching her some words in Kannada. And so these students said that, okay, teach us Urdu as well. So they said that, okay, say, how are you in Urdu? So Alia said it's aap kaise hain? So, then they tried again. So they say, okay, say I'm fine in Urdu. And she said, main theek hoon. So they said, no, we are not talking about Hindi. Please translate it in Urdu. We already know Hindi. So that kind of a thing happened. And another thing that also happened in another session was when we had told the people that the guests will introduce themselves in Urdu, and then the session can be in English. So then there was a murmur in the among the crowd, and they were like, if they will speak in Urdu, how will we understand it? So, it was that, and obviously when they started speaking, they were able to understand everything that they said. So I think language is one big stereotype, like that there's a difference. Second thing would be about, of course, I think about women in Pakistan. So a lot of questions come on the dress of women. So I think a lot of people ask guests in Aman Jabal that, do everyone in Pakistan wear burqa? So the guest would say that, am I wearing a burqa? So, like those kind of things, and, they would really find it hard to know that, like in India, there is a lot of diversity also in Pakistan. There are problems. I wouldn't say that wearing burqa is a problem, not saying that. But then there are like how it is diverse in India, that some people wear sari, some people wear burqa, some people, may wear a more Western thing. So it's the same thing in Pakistan. So that kind of a thing which we need to realize, that like India is a very diverse country in several respects, Pakistan is also the same. And also, like we have a problem, Pakistan also have the same problems. So those kind of things. Of course, another thing is about, another very big stereotype is that it is only we who want peace. That is, I think, the biggest stereotype. That Pakistanis do not respond to any call for peace. There are many kind of, questions that come, many kind of views that people have. And they need to be told this thing, that evidence says that both India and Pakistan, I would say that Pakistan is a much more keener for peace. I mean, as far as I have seen, especially if I see this entire success of Aman Ki Asha, because Aman Ki Asha publishes a paper every week in the news, which Indian side does not do so. And there are many other, there is a lot that, goes. I think I also know a lot of peace activists from Pakistan than I know from India. So I think that is also that kind of things. So it is a very big myth, if you ask me. So yeah, there are like all these kind of stereotypes.
Right, that's a very interesting narrative that you mentioned about having, at least in your experience, that you've seen more initiatives coming from the Pakistan side, because like many others who have asked you the question, even I was under that same impression that there's more effort on the Indian side and may not be that much on the Pakistan side. So thanks to you to help me get over that myth. So same question to Alia as well. Alia, so what are some of the stereotypes that people in Pakistan have about India, and can you share what those are?
There are a lot of stereotypes, but the basic impression that the people get from India is that India essentially is a Hindu nation. People do not accept of the fact that there may be Muslims. Oh yeah, there may be Muslims, but they are mistreated to the
okay. Devika, would you mind, would you happen to know some of the stereotypes that Pakistan people have about India?
Sure. I think what Alia was trying to say is that a lot of people have the impression that India is essentially a Hindu country. I think I also get a lot of that on the Indian side, I would say, because people also think that Pakistan, is essentially a Muslim country and there is no space for religious minorities. I think her point, what she was trying to say, I also got a lot of impression about that, and she was saying that there are, of course, Muslim schools. The constitution says a lot about, the religious minorities. Obviously, essentially, India is a secular country in its essence, in its laws that exist. India also gives the right to the atheists, to the agnostics to really declare that they do not belong to any religion. So I think that's kind of a thing. And I think another same stereotype that exists among the Pakistanis is also that it is only we who are doing efforts for peace, which is, again, not true, because it is both-sided. And that also, I think I can say the same thing, because there are so many peace efforts, peace initiatives that happen, and they're not successful if there is no counterpart in Pakistan, if there is no response in Pakistan. And we know that exists. It is not that it's only the Indian side or the Pakistani side which are doing efforts. They're always responded to.
Right. So, in your experience, so it's been 2 years, right, since you started Agaz-e-Dosti?
2.5, I would say, because it was started in 2012. Yeah, we are about to complete 3 in this. Yeah, this year.
Great. And you must have also come across other organizations who are doing something very similar. Taking and do you try to work with other organizations and trying to come to a common platform? Has there any effort on those lines as well?
Of course, there have been those efforts. Like if you look at a peace calendar, so peace calendar happens with collaborations from several other organizations. So it is not just Agaz-e-Dosti who is doing it, because this time the launch happened in several places. It happened in Pakistan, in Lahore, Islamabad, Karachi, and also talks are going on in Peshawar. So we don't really have organizations who are official collaborators. So still those things are happening. Same for India. So we had a launch in Nasik, Chandigarh, Panipat, apart from Delhi. So we do collaborate with other organizations, and we do aim to do so, because it is very essential that we all work together. And of course, when there is any effort, any initiative that is being taken by any organization, we do participate. We do, and we also invite them to our initiative, and that is responded to. So that thing, we do kind of try to work together, because we understand how important that is. There is hardly any, we still need to make a movement for peace. So if we have our own differences, and if we don't really work together, it will be a problem.
True.
So that's.
I think Alia is back. Alia, you there, right?
Yeah, yes.
All right. So Alia, Devika did try to cover for that question when you dropped off. What I want to sort of get as final remarks from you and Devika is, so it's been, as Devika was just telling earlier, it's been close to 3 years since you have started Agaz-e-Dosti. What do you think in these 3 years of experience that you have learned, what are some of the things that you believe both the governments should be engaged in going forward, so that these initiatives like yours can take up a larger platform, can be done on a much larger scale, and most fundamentally in your interactions with the kids, the kind of questions they were asking, the stereotyping, and it also feels that it should be somehow part of our education system. So can you please share what do you think would some of those initiatives should be that must be taken? Okay, I think we might have lost her. Apologies to all our listeners. There's a very bad connection, which is why we keep losing Alia. But hopefully Devika can help answer, because it could be somewhat similar for both the governments to actually put in place. So Devika, would you mind pitching in?
Yeah, I think at government level, I would say not specifically maybe for Indo-Pak, but I think in general we need to create a peace education, which really lacks in our education. I mean, as of now, even though the new curriculum has kind of had a very rational approach towards education, but it needs to be much more. Talking about peace in general, the importance of peace, that is very crucial. And I think as she may be talking about the history, and how it is written, in both countries. So I think history, especially pertaining to Pakistan, pertaining to partition and before and after that, I think that is very crucial in both countries. So in both countries, as we know, the official curriculum around partition is very political and very problematized, I should say. But that needs to be left as a debate, because it's not that simple as both sides are kind of showing it to be. on one side we are saying, the Indian side will always say that it was a very bad thing that happened and it was like a breach in the secular past. We need to know that it's a very problematic statement to give, because on both sides, and of course on the other side, Pakistan, what it does with the official curriculum is that it will totally say that, it was independence not just from the British but from the Hindus who were suppressing. The thing is that, I think that history is a very problematic thing. History is an art of interpretation. This is, as what historian E.H. Craft had said this thing. And we need to really realize this essence of history, of writing history, of historiography that happens. So I think in that sense, I would say in general, there should be a change in the curriculum with respect to that, and we need to know how peace, the values of rationality have to be kind of, there, have to be embedded through the education system. So I think one thing that both governments need to really do is this, officially, to start to create a culture of dialogue, of peace among the people. I think, and that is important because there is a culture that exists. A lot of people say that what can people do in Indo-Pak relations? Actually, people play a very important role in Indo-Pak relations because, as we know, of course, the governments take the policies, but those policies are not taken in isolation. The government will not really take a policy without the consent of the people, and that consent is obviously manufactured. So if you would say, if the government is advocating peace and the people think that no, there should be no peace with Pakistan, there should be war, then obviously people will not like that policy. So there needs to be a culture, like it is creating a culture of hatred, it needs to create a culture of peace. So I think education is one very important intervention in which state must really kind of think about. And other thing is that I think about the ceasefire violations and about other issues in general, we need to start really working towards solutions and really disband things which says that we need to continue war, because war will never give us anything. It never gave us anything in these 67 years, and it will not do so. There will be no prosperity in both countries if there is war. Yeah.
Well, Devika and Alia, who we do not have, but I'd like to thank you both for taking time and helping us understand the challenges that you have and some of the initiatives that you have taken in the past 3 years. So thank you very much for being on the show. And Devika, before I let you go, would you like to share information about your organization, how they can reach out to you, what your website is, and so on and so forth, so people can tune in to what you guys are doing?
The website it's called Aagaz-e-Dosti. The website is aagaze-dosti.wordpress.com. WordPress. So we have a blog on WordPress, and we are also there on Facebook, on Twitter. And on Facebook and Twitter, we have a Facebook page that is Aagaz-e-Dosti and group by the same name. And the Twitter it also has the same thing, which is Aagaz-e-Dosti. And we welcome participation. We welcome any kinds of suggestions how to really go about this thing. I think the NRIs can play a very crucial role in this thing because, of course, we know that when Indians and Pakistanis are beyond their own geographical regions, they are the best of friends. Like I think there is an understanding to that, and they really become like really good friends and all. So I think the NRIs should also NRIs and I think non-resident Pakistanis should also try to highlight that fact, which is very, very important. So we really welcome any kind of contribution in terms of ideas, in terms of any photograph or any stories about that, so that we can circulate all those and maybe take it forward. And thank you so much for considering this initiative, this very young initiative, and for inviting us to speak.
Thank you very much, Devika. So listeners, you can go to Aagaz-e-Dosti, look it up on Facebook, on Twitter, and they also have a group created on the same name. So please, go visit the website and learn about their initiatives. And as Devika just suggested, if you have any ideas, suggestions, or any contributions you'd like to make, please feel free to do so. And this is Suresh, your host, signing off. we'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Friends, if you liked today's show, please go to youtube.com/NRI Samay and click on the subscribe button. You will get notified every time we publish a new show. And you can also like us on our social media sites like Facebook, Twitter, and Google+.